book that has some notes for my talk. It says, I am love. I am a child of God. I am the light of the world. It's not from the song we just heard. It's from A Course in Miracles. And it was part of a 40-day class that I took as I was retiring, somewhere during, just before, during, and after, doing daily lessons for 40 days. The timing was, made it really difficult. But one of the exercises was to print this out. And I probably had 4 or 5 of them around my house. This was the last one, and I still had up on my mirror in my bathroom. And I gently tore it off, or got it off. And then this came after I found the song, Annabella's song, and started to work with that. So yesterday afternoon, picking songs, I was in tears picking the 2 songs, both of them. So I hope you enjoy them. So True Independence was the title that Ken asked me to speak about. And when he called, I was, this close to calling him. So it was very synchronistic, and what Spirit was giving me, that I should share fit very nicely into this topic. So when I sat down, to write, it's like, okay, independence. And, we tend to think here in America about independence in terms of, things with the United States and our country and all of that. So what does it mean to us as members of a spiritual community? So I looked up the word independence, and it says the fact or state of being independent. Okay, what does that mean? So there were some synonyms listed, and I found it very interesting. Self-rule, self-determination, sovereignty. Now I looked that one up too, because I hear it a lot, and I'm like, I'm not totally sure what that means. And it's supreme power or authority. Self-determination, again. Autonomy, freedom from control or influence, independence directing one's lives. Or, I'm sorry, directing how one lives. Read my own notes. Self-sufficiency, self-reliance, self-support, self-sustenance. It's all about me. And that's how I truly do see independence. And I'm making an assumption that if you're here today, that you have some interest and perhaps some commitment to inner work, to looking at yourself, looking at things that come up in your lives, and unearthing, a term that Christy Maybo uses a lot. The love, the joy, the abundance, the ease, the flow, creativity, those things in your life that, and it's accumulative. It all supports the more we do, the more we look at, the more we're able to let things shift, to change, to choose differently. And to me, that's what, the choosing, seeing who I truly am and clearing out some of that other stuff. What, again, here in the spiritual community, a lot of people would call awakening. We're looking at a book for the ministry class. Ken Reverend Ken Smith had brought it to us, called True Meditation, Discover the Freedom of Pure Awareness. And the author is Adya Shanti, whose name literally means primordial peace. Have you read some of his stuff? Or?
I've done his work, yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, we'll talk later. And he says, and I quote, "We have been taught that awakening is difficult, that to wake up from the illusion of separation takes years, but all it really takes is a willingness to look into the depths of your experience here and now." End quote. So first of all, that word willingness always jumps out at me. Part of the Course in Miracles, a little bit of willingness, you know, open the window, crack the door. It allows some flow, it allows some movement. It allows spirit to come in and support and guide us through whatever it might be that we're looking at. But awakening is difficult. I was taught by my parents and extended family that everything I would achieve in my life would take lots of hard work. Both my brother and I are workaholics. I think I've processed some of that stuff for myself more than he has. And there's still more to do. I have the awareness now, though, to make new choices. I said last night, or not last night, this last week in a meeting, wait a minute, there's some boundaries here. I'm semi-retired. And so I look at what I'm willing to do and not do. And those are the new choices. I can do new things and enjoy them. And that's key for me. And I had to learn that it was key for me because I had to work hard and get lots done. And so I could schedule things. I had honed it to an art, back to back. No time in between. Okay, it's time to leave, get there, do what I have to do. Now there's time built into the schedule to do the things that I want to do and to enjoy them. Or sometimes there could be big surprises because our schedule's so close, I kind of skimped here and there, maybe. So one example of that is the time that I was on a plane to a 2-week retreat somewhere down south. And finally had time to really sit and read the itinerary and the description of what I was going to. I'd been studying with this teacher for a couple of years and I, just kind of went with the flow when she announced it. I was like, oh, that sounds great. Okay, so as I sat there reading the complete description, I realized in horror, I still can feel it, that the firewalk, which I had thought was a demonstration, was part of the middle weekend Day of Miracles, and we would be participating. Still have to breathe through it. I can remember it so clearly. Well, the whole story is for another day, the whole Day of Miracles. It was amazing. But suffice it to say, from that experience, I learned that I can ask the universe for help, for answers, and expect to get them. Now, I did not know that at the time. I didn't have to figure it out. Divine love, whatever you want to call source, will give me the best choice in its own way if I ask for it. So walking around the fire, kind of chanting, is this my fire to walk? Is this my fire to walk? So there was an opportunity to say no, which was good. When I got there, I learned that. It wasn't mandatory, which helped a little bit. But I had no idea how I could answer that question. My mind was exploding with, you could say no, and all the reasons that I should say no, and it was just going round and round. But instinctively, I knew that I couldn't do that until I knew that it was the correct choice. And how am I going to make that determination? Is it a leap of faith? I mean, all these things. My stomach was in a knot. I can feel it right now. So after several times, I came around near the entry gate and I looked up at the exit gate. And it's capitalized here. I clearly saw myself walking out of the fire, off the firewalk, and celebrating. And I mean, I was celebrating. I mean, I saw myself. And I'm standing at the entry gate. It was like, so I knew. And I walked around again. Somebody else was already starting. And I stepped up to the group and walked the fire, which was extraordinary in itself. But seeing myself, getting that answer, I have no idea how that happened. That was shown to me. It's amazing. So now I'm kind of a little more used to it. Okay, and the quote that I read from Adyashanti, translation of his name, the word primordial. I love that word. It's an interesting word, meaning existing at or from the beginning of time. So limiting beliefs is something that's I've been working with Kelly Kolodny and Casey and some of the work I've been doing with them lately. And many of our limiting beliefs and or reactions, feelings, judgments, whether we know it or not, may have been passed to us from generations ago. Perhaps they're primordial from the beginning of time, some of them passed down through the collective consciousness. Water is known to hold the history and energies of the ages. Reading some of Emoto's things is really, really interesting on how all that works, but it holds those energies, and we're 70% water. So that's within us as well. And that's where doing the inner work has been, that's why the inner work has been important to me since I became aware of it, which was really during ministry school, which I attended 1999 through 2001. I found I had judgments, feelings, beliefs, many of which I had no idea where they came from. It wasn't that somebody taught me or, you know, that I remember my family's talking about or anything like that. They were like impressions more. And so I had to started to learn to go within and see what was true for me. And that's really important. It's not, again, I was brought up in a family that you don't tell the neighbors, you know, you don't talk about things that happen in the family, that it's very secretive and all. There's no secrets. When you discover who your true self is, those, to me, those rules, limitations, limiting beliefs start to blur, start to go away, come up to be looked at. So right after ministry school, I took a course to determine my archetypes, which was a really interesting class. And the first 11, you pick 12, goes in a circle. The first 11, I figured out pretty easily as the class went along. And at the end, I was left with 2 final choices for the last one. And one of them, which I really felt was I wanted to choose, was hedonist. but I really, really wanted to choose the other one because I had real negative feelings about being a hedonist. Again, it was not something that was talked about in my family. I don't know if the word hedonist ever was said in my mother and father's house. But I had a negative feeling about what a hedonist was, and I didn't want to be that. It was kind of immoral. So what I came to learn and understand, so the night we were supposed to finish our 12, the instructor sent me home until the next week's class to examine this and do some research and find out why where this came from, and if I could embrace being a hedonist. So what I came to learn and understand is that through the generations, through collective consciousness, what I was feeling was a reflection of Puritan heritage, which comes up a lot in my family, which generally thought of hedonist as someone who pursues extremes of self-indulgence. Extremes is the key word there. And not the archetype itself. So all archetypes have a shadow side, and that was really focusing on the shadow side. But in positive terms, the hedonist archetype inspires creative energy in the psyche to embrace the good things in life for the pleasurable aspects of life. Now, scientific research has shown pleasure can improve our health and extend our lives, and needs to be a part of a balanced life. You like that one? So this archetype now, looking back, I have that opportunity now that I'm 70 years old to look back at some of this stuff. This archetype really served me well in my career as a fashion design, in my personal life with cooking and entertaining, how I set my table, how I serve the food. Jennifer was talking this morning at breakfast about the little touches of things that I'll do. That's all part of being a hedonist. It's quality, not quantity. I'll wait for the thing that I want, whether it's about the money or to find the right thing. I remember one time I often have people that are living with me, and we were decorating the Christmas tree together. And I had gotten a new tree and new ornaments, purple and silver, and I was just loving it. And we finished up all the ornaments. And she's like, okay, we're done. She starts cleaning up, and I said, it's not finished. What do you mean it's not finished? We haven't got any more. I'm like, I gotta go to the store. I gotta go find something. It's not finished. And I went to the store and I got a few more things and came back and we finished it. And she goes, wow, she said, that's really amazing. How those few things just changed it. She could see the difference. And I could see it before. It wasn't quite finished. So that's how hedonist has manifested in my life. And I also learned that when my choice is right for me, there are no uneasy feelings. My mind and my body are at peace. So again, I said I'm looking back at some of the pivotal experiences in my life, and I can see that I'm much more authentic. And fairly recently, in the last 10 years or so, I've had somebody in my life that we've had discussions about authenticity with, and particularly some of her feelings that I wasn't always authentic. So that's really has been something I've been looking at. And I know that I am connected to and part of the creative consciousness of the universes. And so all the work and all the things that I don't like the word work, all the things that I've done and how I've learned to make new choices and all of that contributes to that collective consciousness. And as all of us do our work, it contributes to that collective consciousness, allowing it to keep growing to a point where we get to that at the end. So connected to part of the creative consciousness, I am infinite. That word, probably in ministry school, somewhere around there. So it was like 20 some years ago, has become a word that I really love. Ever expanding, infinite. It's not a start and a finish. It's ever expanding. It's infinite. I just love that. That's what I am. I'm part of that. Divine Love, the song today, the cover of my book. I am love. I'm a divine child of God. I am the light of the universe. I'm that important. I am that powerful. And I'm going to claim that. So, hallelujah. Oop, and abracadabra. Do you know what abracadabra means? It means because I said so. So it's like, so it is, but I think it's much more fun to use than so it is. Okay. So it's not about what I was conditioned or taught to believe. It's clearing some of that. And I had to learn or make new choices to not care what others thought. And probably I was making it all up in my mind anyway. And it had very little to do with the truth, probably. I don't know. I don't really care. It's a waste of time and energy for me, or I think for any of us, because we don't know what anybody else is thinking. We don't know what their life, what their whole, we can't know. So one of the things I have discovered, again, part of it through working with Kelly Kolodny and Casey recently, and the very last class, I think I've taken 3 or 4 of her master classes, and she channels Angel Raphael. The last class we did, Merlin came in. And I've always really loved Merlin, but really like studied him or anything, but the thought of the magician and the robes, and I like that kind of ceremony. Well, he's really tough. Not in a mean way or a bad way, but he, like, this is what you need to do and do your homework kind of way. A stern teacher, and he wanted us to get out in nature, and we had to find at one point find a tree and kind of put the tree and all of that, which was fabulous. Oh, and play. We'll get to that. To be like a child. That was in the song. See why the song made me cry? So looking at nature, different animals, plants, trees, flowers, etc. There's so many. They're all unique. They're all different. They're all part of the all that is, just like I am. How could I think that I was created any less magnificent than any of them? How could I think that I was created any less powerful than any of them? May not be in the same way because I'm unique, just like they're unique. But I'm connected to all of that, and all of that is within me as well. So, could I have been created any less magnificent? No, I couldn't. I am magnificent. So from learning to say that for me, it's a big thing. learning to know and feel that connection to the infinite. When sort of the first time I remember experiencing that, it's powerful, it's amazing. Okay, so my understanding of oneness, the all that is, Ati, as Tom O'Shea used to like to call it, is that it's important for me to be doing all of this and learning all of this and becoming all of this, being all of this to participate in creating the world that I want. And that's really important to me. I think that's what sort of put me on my path without knowing it. So the other night on Jeopardy, I watch Jeopardy every night. I record it, so sometimes I watch 3 at a time. But anyway, the other night on Jeopardy, one of the categories was words derived from body parts. The clue, the brave can sleep well, knowing that the word courage comes from this body part. Oh, good. Yay. Did some of you get it on Zoom? Heart. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. Okay. No, that was not a movie that was so good. Okay. Right. You're right. I see it now. So some of us, I would say, we could take some courage to look at these things, to change. Oh my gosh, change can be challenging. To let go of the fear and step forward in courage. And it's from the heart. Okay, well it does make total sense to me. One of the things I've loved in fairly recent years, studying with heart math. And it's all from the heart. The heart sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the rest of the body. Okay, and there's certain breathing techniques that I practice and work with. We are heart-based. And to me, the heart has to do with feelings. We're feeling-based. And it comes through the heart and the gut sometimes. So again, back to independence. True independence is me taking charge of my life. And for me, I would say, I call it living large. Now, it might look really different for any of you that are here on this morning or this call. We're unique individuals. And I think a lot of the collective consciousness, as I've looked at things, is, and our schools and a lot of the ways that we're taught and things, is about conforming. Our schools were designed to send people to factories to work for the rest of their lives. And it hasn't changed since that was developed. It needs, I think, to be looked at. That's another whole topic too. But that's how we were conditioned into our adulthood. So it's, maybe it's there somewhere that we could clear it. One of the ways that we can do that, and this was part of the Merlin work, and I've come across it in some other ways too, nurturing and growing my imagination. Playing as children play. I was not doing that till pretty recently. I like to do things, so I would arrange it and I'd get the people to come with me. And so again, I wasn't building in on the enjoyment part. So I really wasn't playing as a child and just enjoying it. But that helps us working with our imagination and playing as children to tap into a deep well of greater possibilities. I just said yesterday, somebody, there's always at least, let's dimension, 144 possibilities. How many do we see or work with? Through playing, children will come up with amazing ways to, if Jet's on, David Richmond, who spoke 3 or 4 weeks ago, he sent or turned us on to a video that's a TED Talk, and how as adults, how little we use our imagination in problem solving. That a study that NASA did. And if you learn to play as children, it goes up to like 98% from like 3% or something. It's absolutely incredible. Very short talk, but it's amazing. So Albert Einstein once said, when he was asked by a young child of about 8 years old, "How can I become as smart as you?" And his answer was, "Read fairy tales." And then another little boy said, "Well, how can I become smarter than you, Mr. Einstein?" And he answered, "Read more fairy tales." Of course, they probably didn't get it at the time, but he was actually encouraging us to do was to nurture and grow our imaginations. Einstein understood something that almost all highly creative and successful people do, that the imaginal realm is where the most potent ideas, the ones that can change your life or change the world, are held. Change your life and change the world. Change your life and change the world. When you change, everything changes. That's how important we are, I believe. So the more we can nurture our imagination by delving into the imaginal realm, the more often that dive will inspire a stream of creativity when we resurface from the dive. Okay, so again, the class with Kelly Kalodny and Merlin's telling us to play like children. And it's an ongoing assignment, even though the class is over, and to get out in nature. Well, the first thing I did was run down to my garage and get my bag with the bubbles. I love bubbles. And I knew right away what I wanted to do first. And so I have the bag here with me. There's more in the bag. So anybody wants to go out and play, as soon as we're done, we can do that. I'll leave that out. Little known fact on bubbles. Do you know that if you blow bubbles when it's below freezing outside, they will freeze?
Whoa.
They can freeze. Yes. So we'll see y'all this winter. We'll do it fast. So I'm more optimistic for the future of the world, our country, myself, and all of you, for our future than ever, because I see an option that I really think is because of where we are in evolvement, which is part of how the universes work. We're at a place, and oh gosh, what's his name? I love him. Braden, thank you. Greg Braden talks about this a lot, or used to. The 5,000 year cycle and the 12,000 year cycle and the 24,000 year cycle. We're at a point in history that is, previously kind of unknown in humankind because of how we have evolved. And I believe that there's some latent things within me that are just waiting as the collective consciousness evolves, because we're evolving. The complexity and the crisis, with the COVID thing and the things with some of the things in politics and our government and so forth, is helping to fully activate it. And maybe more people are becoming aware of things like that. And those of us in this group are growing. And so now's the time. Woohoo! I'm here to experience this. It's our destiny, I believe, to become. We talk about retraining ourselves and all of that, and being truly present for the emergence of this new world of possibilities. Just let it happen. Be aware, I feel, we make it so difficult, and we don't maybe feel that sometimes I don't feel like I'm progressing or doing enough, or just let it be easy. I had to learn that. I had to practice it. I had to sometimes let go. Can't do anything about it right this minute. Let's do something else. Let's go out and play. I think that this will help us have profoundly more fulfilling lives. It will help me have a more fulfilling life. It will empower me to help others live better lives as well. So we can all begin to play an active role in our world and time. And I think that living at this level of co-creative partnership with the universes is quite a wild and wonderful and satisfying ride. Namaste. Abracadabra. Abracadabra.